What is up, Insaners, and welcome to another video of the Fantasy Premier League 2022-23 season. In this one, guys, we're going to talk about some of the players that you should have on your watch list for Gameweek 6 and beyond. We'll cover the wildcard guide in case if you are thinking of wildcarding this week. We'll also talk about our team selection, our transfer plans, and then we'll end the video with the best captaincy options for Gameweek 6. Now we'll start with the watch list for Gameweek 6. I know a lot of you are looking for Rodrigo replacements as Rodrigo got injured. He had a shoulder injury, and I think it's best to replace him. Now, there are a lot of options that you can go for. Of course, it's that sort of a price category where if you have some money, you can get towards a Gundogan, for example, get towards a slightly more premium asset. In case if you want to save money, then there's the other direction where you can go for, where you can save some money and get a cheaper option. So I think if you are looking at a Rodrigo replacement, if you have some money in the bank, I think Wilfried Zaha is a great option to go for. I think he's been great for Crystal Palace. He is that talisman for Palace, guys, and I think he will be scoring a lot of goals. He is playing as a striker. We know that he's also on penalties. Crystal Palace have looked okay in attack. I mean, they can of course improve. And the upcoming fixtures are a bit tricky, guys, but if somebody can score or can return in those games, I think it has to be Crystal Palace's Wilfried Zaha, guys. I think he's a great option to go for. He's also slightly differential, so in case if you don't want to go for somebody like a Martinelli, for example, let's say if you don't have Martinelli, I still would suggest to get Martinelli. But if you don't have him, or if you don't want to get to him, for example, I think Wilfried Zaha is a great option to go for. Now in other options, guys, we can also go for a Pascal Gross. I know that he's not on penalties and a lot of people expected him to be. So there is a slight less output in terms of attacking returns, but I think still he's a good option to go for. In case if you are trusting a Brighton player, guys, I think he's definitely up there. You should definitely look at him. Yes, he's slightly more popular, so you might not be getting that differential status from Pascal Gross, but I think he's playing up top, guys, and I think it's a good position for him. I think there's a lot of attacking threat that he can give. I know that last game he was a bit quiet, but I still feel he will be getting at the end of those attacking returns, guys. And if you want a Brighton attacker, I think he's a great option to go for. I still feel he's better value than a Trossard at the moment. Of course, it could change in the coming time, but I still feel Pascal Gross is the Brighton player to go for. Now, if you want to not go for a Brighton player, let's say if you're not looking at Wilfried Zaha, for example, guys, I think Bernardo Silva is also a great option to go for. I know not a lot of people are thinking of Bernardo Silva as a Rodrigo replacement, but I think if you are looking at a third Man City player, let's say if you are not convinced by Alvarez because his minutes are probably not enough, you maybe can't reach to a Foden, maybe you can't even reach to a Gundogan, for example, who also has rotation risk. I still feel Gundogan's probably more at a rotation risk than Bernardo Silva, guys. And if you have that sort of money, and I think if you want to go towards a Man City double attack, considering that you already might have Haaland, I think Bernardo Silva is a great option to go for. Yes, there would be a slight risk in terms of rotation, in terms of minutes, but I think he's ticking along well. We've seen Bernardo Silva also giving good number of hauls, I mean good points hauls. But yes, he'll tick along nicely. He'll give you the 6, 7, 8 pointers. And he's in great form at the moment. We've seen in the past that he goes on these patches, goes on these runs where he can get you attacking returns consistently. And I think he's going through one right now. And if you want to target a Man City player, a Man City double attack, I think Bernardo Silva is a great option. Now, I think there are a couple of other players also to look at. Let's say if you are looking at a Leeds replacement only. I mean, Rodrigo is from Leeds, and if you are looking to get in a Leeds player itself, there are 3 options in fact to go for. Now, this is a very interesting conversation because there's not a lot to choose from all the 3 options. I mean, Sinisterra did really well in the last game, but we still don't know how many minutes is he gonna get in that Leeds setup. The expectation is that he will be starting more games. So I think there are chances of attacking returns there, guys. He looked really good in attack, and I think he can get you goals, even assists. Now, Harrison is a sort of more of a complete player. I mean, he's definitely has more creative threat. So if you are looking at a player who's slightly cheaper, let's say, for example, if you want to save some money, I think Harrison's also a great option to go for. I know that he didn't have a great game last time around, guys, but I still feel he'll be trying to create those chances, guys. He will give you creative threat. There are chances of an odd goal as well, but I think Harrison definitely is not the best pick to go for. I mean, he's somewhere in the middle. Then you also have Aronson, for example, guys. Maybe among these 3 options, Aronson's the better one. Right now, again, we don't have enough data. Yes, he scored a couple of goals. We've seen that he does a lot of running. There is some creative threat, and the expectation is that with the return of Bamford, his minutes are going to be probably secure. His attacking returns might also increase. So he's definitely one to look out for. And in case if you want to save some money, I think Aronson is the one to go for. Out of all these 3 guys, I still feel Harrison is the safest option to go towards. if you want to take a risk, if you are okay spending about 6.5 million, I think Sinistera could be a great option to go for if you don't want to follow the crowd. Let's say with the Pascal Gross, for example. And then you have Aronson if you want to save some money, if you are probably using this money to upgrade other players in your team. I think Aronson is also a decent option to go for. Another player who's very interesting, or who's definitely on my watch list, as I have a certain Ivan Toney in my team, guys, I think it's Alexander Isak. I hope I've got that name right. I think he's a great option as well. I know we've only seen him play for one game, and he played really well, guys. I mean, physically he looks really strong. There is a lot of goal threat. He did really well against Liverpool, and I think he's gonna do pretty well, especially with Callum Wilson out injured. I mean, whenever he's fit as well, guys, I mean, there's always a slight risk with Callum Wilson. So I think Alexander Isak is going to be really good for Newcastle. Newcastle need that focal point, need that number 9 to fire, and I think he can do really well, considering that they have some creative players in their team now, guys. So I think if you have a third striker option, let's say if you've already gone for Mitrovic, who's anyways doing well, if you've gone for Ivan Toney and you're kind of losing patience with him, I think, especially if you are on a wild card, I think Alexander Isak is a great option to go for. He also provides that third route or third spot where you can, chop and change. And I think he's a good option to look at. It might be too early to kind of just straight away get into your teams, especially if you are not on a wild card. But I think he's someone that you should definitely look at, and I think he could be a great option. Now, coming to a wild card and talking about if you want to wild card in Game Week 6, guys, it's still not the ideal time to do a wild card. But in case if you feel that your team needs a wild card, if things are not going your way, if you feel that a wild card would be suited to you because you want to probably chase the pack, you want to get equal to the pack, you don't want to fall behind in terms of the template, I think using the wildcard still makes sense, especially for your team, guys. So in case if you want to go for a wildcard, there's the draft that we've come up with. In goal, we still have Raya. I mean, I again don't have enough money for a Sanchez, but if you have Sanchez, I think Sanchez is probably a slightly better keeper. There are high chances of him keeping more clean sheets than a Raya, but then Raya can kind of cover that off with save points. But I still feel if you can afford Sanchez, I think he's the one to go for. In terms of defense, guys, we've gone for Cancelo, Trent, James. I still feel all of these three are good options to go for, are premium options to go for. You don't have to go for a Robertson, you don't have to go for a Walker and double up on those defenses. I still feel Man City is still going to keep more clean sheets than Chelsea, who are struggling at the moment. Even Liverpool aren't really playing that great defensively. I mean, there is a lot of problem in that Liverpool defense. So I probably won't double up with a Robertson, considering that he's expensive and he's not even providing that attacking threat that we've all known him for. So I think going for Cancelo, Trent, James is pretty good. Then we have Saliba. I think he's a great budget sort of a player in that Arsenal premium defense, guys. I think Arsenal will keep clean sheets. Yes, they might not be as high as Man City, for example, but I still feel Saliba provides a lot of value in that price range. He has goal threat as well, so we know that he can score goals. He could be threat from set pieces as well, and I think he's a slightly better option than a Gabriel. Both of them are good options from a bonus points. So I think if you are looking at an option, are looking at an Arsenal defender, I think Saliba is definitely the one to go for. In terms of midfield, guys, we've retained Martinelli, Salah, and then we've kind of got a bit different, gone in a different direction. We've not gone for Luis Diaz, who still is a good option to go for. So if you want to go for him, you can either go for a Diaz and then kind of downgrade your third striker. That's an option, or that's an outlet to look at. But here we've gone for Zaha. Zaha, as I already mentioned, is a great option. He is that main central figure for Crystal Palace in attack, and I think he will be scoring a lot of goals. So I think he's definitely one to look at, definitely one to consider if you are on a wild card. Then we've gone for two cheap midfield options because most often than not we're gonna play a 4-3-3 because we have a third striker option. So we've gone for Da Silva, who again is starting a few games. He may just give us an appearance points in case if we need it. Then we also have somebody like an Andres Pereira, guys, who's great value for that price. I mean, if you have him, I think you should definitely consider him playing in the easier games as well, because there is a lot of creativity in Pereira. There's a lot of attacking potential with Pereira, and I think you can get some decent points, especially if, let's say, if he's first on your bench. Maybe he was first on your bench this week when you had James, in your 11 and he didn't play. So that's one example where, Pereira can give you some decent points off the bench. Da Silva, we might not have to rely on him a lot. I mean, yes, there could be chances where maybe a Da Silva is also called upon, considering that there could be some rotation because of the fixture congestion, because of the top teams playing in Europe. But I think Da Silva would give us that. He would at least give us appearance points, if not more. I mean, the expectation is not really a lot here. So I think he's decent. He'll take along well. Maybe if you want a more nailed sort of an option, you can possibly look at a Reed from Fulham, who's 4.5 million as well. So I think there are some options there. Now in attack, guys, we have two template picks. I mean, everybody have or has them right now. It's Gabriel Jesus and Haaland, so it's nothing very different that we're doing here. Third striker or the third option is where things can get interesting because we have Ivan Toney right now. A lot of you might consider Mitrovic, who has tough fixtures, but I mean, we've seen that he's been doing really well. And there is no certainty that he's not going to score against the tougher teams as well, because Fulham are an attacking side. They are playing front foot football. And there is a chance that Mitrovic, considering the importance of him to that Fulham team, I think he can do well even against the stronger oppositions, guys. In case if you don't want to go for a Mitrovic, for example, you can also go for an Alexander Isak if he's fit. As I mentioned earlier, I think he's a great option as well. I mean, yes, it's just very small sample size at the moment, but in case if you want to get to a player a little earlier than others, guys, I think going for Alexander Isak is a decent option to go for. It's definitely differential and it kind of gives you an edge over the others in case if he comes off really well. Now coming to our team for Game Week 6, guys, this is the team that we have for Game Week 6. I mean, I don't really see any worries in terms of the whole team. Yes, we still have Rodrigo and we still have to replace him. So I think that's going to be my transfer this week. I have 0.4 million in the bank. I have 2 free transfers. So we might just take out Rodrigo. There are some decent options to go for. And I think we'll probably go for one of the Leeds midfielders or maybe even Pascal Gross from Brighton. I don't think so I'll have enough money for a Bernardo Silva. I'll just check if that move is possible with 2 transfers, but I think it's probably not worth it. I mean, I can of course do that move and I think it could be a decent option, could be a great differential as well. I can't go towards Zaha, otherwise I really would have loved to get to a Zaha, but I think that's going to be my transfer this week. Rest of the players are looking pretty solid. Tony as well, we'll see him for a couple of weeks. He might get us something. I mean, he's definitely been in and around of getting FPL points, but he's been a bit unlucky in terms of getting those returns. But I think that's also one transfer that might be done down the line. But I think other than that, our team is looking pretty solid. The captaincy right now is on Salah. And I know a lot of people could also go towards Haaland. We also could go towards Haaland. But again, as like last week, there is a lot of murmur or there's a lot of conversation around Haaland getting a rest this week. And that could absolutely happen. But I think Salah captaincy against Everton, I think it's a decent option to go for. Other than that, I have Andres Pereira in case if I need him from the bench. I think he's definitely playing Tottenham and I think that's going to be a trickier game. But again, Pereira has been in decent form. Fulham have been in great attacking form. And I think he's a great option on the bench. I feel that James is definitely going to start this one. So I don't really have a lot of worry there. In case if we get some news on James that he's probably out, then there could be a transfer made where we maybe go to a Trippier, maybe go towards a different defender. But other than that, guys, I think this team is looking pretty decent. And let's move on to the captaincy options for Game Week 6. Now coming to captaincy, we have a couple of really decent options for captaincy for Game Week 6, guys. We have Mo Salah against Everton. I know a lot of people didn't go for Mo Salah, and that move kind of paid off last week. But again, he got 2 assists, he got a couple of bonus points. So I mean, it was not very bad overall. Of course, it was a lot lesser than what a Haaland could give us. But I think Mo Salah against Everton could be decent. We saw in the last game, Mo Salah wasn't really having a lot of goal threat. He's playing out wide. He's not getting those kind of chances anymore. But again, I mean, I'm not really jumping on to conclusions. Salah is an elite player. He's playing for an elite attack, and I still feel Liverpool can turn around that corner. They can score goals. We saw that against Bournemouth, and maybe Everton is probably not going to be that because it's a home game for Everton and they're playing at Goodison Park. They have a good record at Goodison Park, guys, and of course it's a derby, so it could get a little bit tasty as well. So I think there are chances, there are potential for a Salah haul against Everton. He's not been the best in form. I mean, he's not a player who's in great form at the moment. He's been doing decent for the Liverpool attack, but I still feel against Everton, I mean, he can definitely do well. I still feel there could be a lot more people going for Mo Salah captaincy this week as compared to Haaland, guys. A lot of people expected Haaland to get rested last week. That didn't absolutely happen, and probably that was one of the reasons I didn't go for captaincy, or I didn't go for that Haaland captaincy, because I was expecting a rest from Haaland. I mean, I thought that Pep will rest him. Now, a lot of people would probably captain Haaland this week because he did really well in the last 2 games, and the expectation or the assumption here is that against a weak Villa defense, I think there is another potential for another hat trick. So a lot of people I think will captain him, but again, this could be the week where he gets rested. It's very difficult to kind of predict because it's kind of going against the expectation at the moment, but I still feel against Aston Villa, if he starts, there is again a potential of him getting a huge haul. We've seen that he's been playing really well. We've seen that he's an elite finisher, so if he gets chances, he will end up finishing those chances and scoring goals. So if you want to again take a slight bit of a risk, but again with a huge haul potential, I think Haaland is still the better captaincy option than Salah this week. Now, in case if you want to play a bit safer, I mean, yes, the understanding again here was that Kevin De Bruyne probably will start the last game and he got rested. Now, the assumption here would be that Kevin De Bruyne starts this one and probably does well against Villa because he was playing decently. Of course, he came when Man City was already leading by 5 goals, but I still feel KDB this week could be a much better option than last week, considering that he got rested. Then we also have Harry Kane, guys, who's playing Fulham. We know that Fulham are an attacking team, but they have the possibility or they have that chance of conceding goals. And I think Harry Kane has been Tottenham's best attacker. He is definitely playing a lot deeper. I mean, as deep as he probably was playing last season. But I think if you want to go for a Tottenham attacker, if you are looking at a Tottenham attacker, I think Harry Kane has to be that option, guys. He is that outlet who can score goals. We know that he can score headers. We know that he can take shots. I mean, he's an all-around player. He is definitely looking a lot better than last season. And he could be a decent differential option if you don't want to go for the likes of Mo Salah and Erling Haaland. But again, I think it's still a big risk. Haaland and Salah are the best options to go for, guys. If you want to go absolutely safe and not take a lot of chances, not take a lot of risk, maybe if you're trying to protect rank, protect your points, I think Salah would take along nicely. But again, Haaland has that massive potential against a Villa team who have not really looked very high on confidence. So Haaland would probably be my overall pick in terms of the potential. But again, if you want to go safe, then it's probably tilting towards Salah here. Both are really good options for Game Week 6. So that'll be all from my side for this video, guys. I hope you like what you saw today. I hope I was able to help you in terms of a watch list, in terms of your wildcard draft, your wildcard team, in case if you're wildcarding this week, and captaincy options as well, guys. Now we'll be back with the dilemmas video as well. That's gonna come out tomorrow before the deadline. Then we'll also have the deadline stream before the deadline. So do join us for that. Thank you so much for watching. Hit like, hit subscribe, and I'll see you in Saners next time.